Hi everyone, I'm JD. Welcome back to my channel. So this video, it's a journal surgery. This is my Keanu cat journal where I'm recording the life of my cat. And you would have seen a bit of this before if you've been following my channel for a while. Originally, I did my journal entries randomly in this journal, recording his life for last year, and I just didn't like it at all. It was too all over the place. I realised that when I want to look back at the life of my cat, I want to look at it chronologically from start to finish in order. For other things like a quote journal or inspiration journal, I'm fine with random and choosing any page. But this, for my cat journey, I just want to do it from start to finish. And so I was telling the ladies in a live about this, and they helped me just to make the decision to pull it apart and change it. And so I'd only done work in the first two signatures. So I decided, okay, it wouldn't be too much work to just rejig it and make it chronological. So I ended up doing the first signature again during that live. And now I'm just doing the second signature again, redoing it for this video. And I thought I'd put the camera on and show you how I do it and what the process is. So there were 5 signatures in that journal. And yeah, this is working on the second signature, redoing it. And I love calling it journal surgery. I've had to do journal surgery many times in the past if I've had to, if I sewed in a signature upside down, or if I did a page upside down, or if a page was flimsy or loose, or had to reinforce something here or there, or wanted to change the order here or there. So journal surgery, don't be afraid of it. It's fun. If your journal isn't working for you, make it work for you. Do what you need to do to rejig it. Don't be afraid to cut the binding and rearrange pages or add pages or take pages out. Just, have fun with journal surgery. And so what I'm doing here, I have this front page, or a first page, that worked really well in the chronology, those photos in the exact right place that I need them. So actually last night, before I filmed this video, I finished that whole first signature, adding all the photos, doing all my journaling, so I know exactly what photos I'm up to for this second signature. And there's only that one front sheet that has photos, so that's all I needed to make sure that was at the front. And now all these blank pages are pages they took out from those initial first 2 signatures that were left over and untouched, so I'm able to reuse those in this second signature. I've also pulled out a bunch of white paper because I like to intersperse my feature pages with white paper. I like a lot of blank pages in my journal because then I'm not afraid to use those pages to cover them up with photos and writing. So I do use quite a few white pages, and I'm just measuring around, cutting them to size so that they match the size of the other pages, cutting them down. And I pretty much just alternate a feature page with a white page most of the time. I'm also going to show you how I do a hinged page very soon. But just this is the basic way I do my layout, is kind of a book page or something that's busy with a picture or writing, and then I intersperse that with one of my blank plain white pages. So this is what I got so far, and I do often flick back and just see how it looks, making sure that everything is laid out in a way that's pleasing to my eye. And then I've got this page here. It was from a Daphne's Diary magazine. It says World Animal Day. It's got a picture of a dog and a cat on the front, so I thought it was cute. And the back page of it was nothing fancy, so I stuck on this Downton Tabby book page on it, which I thought was cute. And the reason why it's only half a page is because there was nothing on the other page that I wanted to use. So what I'm going to do now is do a hinged page, because I've got this one single-sided page that I'm going to hinge onto a normal double page spread. And I'm just cutting it down first. I think it'll make it a bit more interesting. First of all, I don't need that excess paper anyway. And second of all, it'll make it interesting just to have a different size page. And what I'm doing is I'm pulled out this smaller scrapbook paper, a 6x6 page, folded it in half. And I thought originally I was just going to use that as a page to break up my pages, but instead, well, I'll show you in a second, I also have this other 6x6 page that I thought I might want to use in the actual journal as a double page. But what I thought was instead I need to have a hinge to include this page. And what I ended up doing was grabbing another white sheet, folding that in half, and that's the double page that I'm going to hinge that single page onto. And if this is not making any sense, just keep watching, and hopefully as you see what I do, that will make sense. And I'm going to try my best to explain it with words, but if you just watch it, you'll be able to see, hopefully, how to add a single page to a double page and have a hinged page, and it kind of makes a triple page in the end. So I folded down my white page, and now I'm just measuring it to the same size as that hinged page that I want to add on to it. I could make the hinge, like it doesn't have to be the same size, that double page, but it just makes it a bit easier to hinge it on. Well, not easier. It's easy either way if it was a full size. But anyway, I think it's just nice having it the same size for the sake of this part. And then, so they match up there. I'm going to grab that hinge, and because I want the decorative page hinge kind of showing, I'm going to glue down the blank side of it. And all I'm going to do, originally I was going to use glue to glue it down, but then I thought maybe I want a pocket just in case, and then I can slip something in under there. So I grabbed my double-sided tape, and all I'm doing is adding it to the edges and the inside edge, and I'm going to leave the outside edge free in case I want to slip something into that little pocket. And again, you'll just be able to see what I do if that makes no sense. It'll all kind of come together once you see it join up. But for now, yeah, just doing my best to explain it. So yeah, grabbing the tape. Okay, pulling that off. And then I'm just going to stick it down onto the edge where it's folded of that double page. And you don't want it to go too far across. You want it pretty much flush, because you don't want that extra little hinge sticking out, and you know that's where you're going to sew it in as your signature, so you don't want it sticking out. And then now I've got this other side to hinge on. Obviously I don't want to cover that whole entire page, so I'm just opening it to see that it's all flush and it's not sticking out too far or anything. But I just want to cut off this excess part so I don't cover that book page. But I do want a little bit of a hinge, enough to be able to glue it on to the other page. Okay, so now I'll trim that down, and I'll use that excess piece for embellishing later on when I come to embellish. But now I will grab, again I was going to use glue, but I thought let's just use the double-sided tape. Less mess, it's not going to ooze out as the glue often does, especially me when I get glue happy. So I just do 2 strips down these 2 outer edges. So one for that edge and one for this inner edge, so that's nice and flush and it's not going to peel up or anything or lift up. Then just removing that backing tape, or the backing of the tape. And now I'm going to line it up so it's flush with this page. And I don't mind if it's a little bit further in. The main thing is that it doesn't stick out, or you don't want it to go out of the edge, because that's where it's going to be bound into the journal. So sorry you can't see, I'm just putting it close to my face so I can see what I'm doing. But I'll put it back down, and you can see now it's nice and flush. And then I did get a bit overlapping at the bottom, so I'm just trimming that bit off so it doesn't stick out. And then you can see there is my hinged page, and I'll open it up so you can see it. I'm just making sure it all looks nice and aesthetically pleasing, and it does. I think it really does, because it's that vintagey looking page, and then the bright the brighter colours of the blue just breaks up, you know, the white, the brown, and adds a nice decorative touch. And so that is my triple page. I hope that was okay and easy to understand. And just a little tip there for you if you want to add a single page or make a hinged page. It's quite fun. So now I'm just adding another larger page here. And then, yeah, adding the rest of my pages to the signature. I think I put about 10 pages to this signature. And I'm going to grab another white page so you can see the pattern. Decorative page, white page, decorative page, white page. And yeah, instead of measuring it the way I was before with a ruler, with a pacer, and using a different page and laying it on top, this time I'm just like, oh, fold it in half, cut off that edge, and then you can measure it with a ruler and just see from the other pages how tall it needs to be. So I'm using that other page, this page here, as my guide. So no, I'm not getting a ruler, I'm actually using the page as a guide, but fold it over instead of having it all open out. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but anyway, just different methods of measuring my white pages. Alright, and often my mark is just a guide in the end. So got my next white page. So next I'm going to choose a feature page or a decorative page. And I've got this cute little one here. And again, I keep flipping through. I always constantly flip through just to make sure it looks okay, that it works together as a whole. And then last, I chose this page. I wanted to keep this as my middle page. It's from a colouring book from the lovely Karen. And it just worked well as a middle page because I didn't want to cut off any page so that you only see half of it. Oh, I'm just trimming down this part. It was a bit flimsy, this edge, because I had to rip off. There was actually some other pictures stuck on the back that I ripped off and it kind of got a bit flimsy. So I'm just trimming off that flimsy edge, and I reinforced it with another picture on the other side and a bit of like note paper just to give a bit of journaling space. So that's another little tip. If you want to reinforce papers, just cover it with some other note paper or something. And here I thought this was okay. I thought I was going to leave it as is, and I was ready to bind, and so I get my binding tools out, but as you'll see later I end up putting another blank page between those two pages. In my eyes, you can't have too many blank pages ever, because you can always cover it over, and if you find that you have too many pages in there in the end, you can always rip it out. So if I find that it's getting too bulky, I can rip out that blank page, because it's not a decorative one. I'm not going to ruin anything by ripping out a blank page. I'm not going to miss anything. And, you know, it's just one blank page. I often rip out pages after I make a journal, because I just find it gets too chunky for me once I add all my own ephemera and photos. So I'll often just rip out pages if I need to. And you don't need to redo the binding or anything. It does get a bit looser, obviously, because you're taking out a page. But, of course, if I take out too many pages and it gets really, really loose, I'll just redo the binding. But if I just take out 1 or 2 pages, it's fine. Having a bit of a looser binding, I'm fine with that. So here you can see this is where I'm adding that white page. So yeah, fun journal surgery. Let me know in the comments if you also like doing journal surgery. Yeah, I always say if it's just not working for you, if there's too many pages or not enough pages, or you're just not liking the layout, feel free to undo the binding and just redo it. It's totally fine. It is a bit more extra work, but the aim is for you to be happy when you look through your journal and to make you smile when you look through it. So that little bit of effort is worth it, I think, in the end. So at the end of doing this, I was so glad I ended up doing it, because now I feel more at peace knowing it's in chronological order, and I don't feel frazzled trying to find and keep track of his growth journey for my cat. Alright, so now I'm going to show you the binding as well. I'm going to be doing the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. I've got tutorials on this on my channel many times before, but for those who are still with me and want to see the entire process, what I do here is I've already got my little note sheet paper thingy with all my markings, and I've marked in the red my little golden book markings. So this will be what I use for every single little golden book, because it will be the same. It's always the same dimensions for the cover. So I know where my holes are, and all I need to do is grab my signature, line it up in the middle of the cover, and then match up my markings and poke my holes through with the awl. So I'm just making sure it's centered. It's a little difficult because I've got other signatures in there and they're kind of lumpy and bumpy, but you know, it's all good. You can still work it out, still figure out where the middle is and find your holes. I'm just realizing though that I need to push that middle page down, because if I left it in the middle, none of my holes at this ends would have caught it, only the middle hole. So just to make it a bit sturdier, I pushed it down so that at least it catches 2 holes when I bind it. Again, I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I hope in this video it's just showing you little tips and tricks that I use when I go about doing journal surgery or just the making of a journal in general. And I hope that seeing my process in real time, I haven't sped this up or anything, it helps just to give you those little tips and tricks for your own journal making. And yeah, let me know if anything in this is helpful in the comments. I'm never quite sure, so you probably all know this anyway, but like the Hinged page and all that kind of stuff. But I hope it just, don't be afraid to do journal surgery is basically the aim of this video, I suppose. Because I quite enjoy journal surgery. I quite enjoy getting the little details right. If the first time round didn't work for me and I wasn't happy with it, I like getting the details right second time round. And so going through the middle hole, the bottom hole, going back through the center hole, and then I'll go through the top hole, and in the next video, I do plan to share a flip through of that entire first signature, which is finished now, yay! And maybe I'll do a flip through of the rest of the journal, a quick one, just for those who missed the original flip through. There is a flip through of this, but it's totally different now. The pages are totally out of order now that I've done this journal surgery. But yeah, I will do a proper flip through of that entire first signature. And now that I'm happy with this journal, now I want to work in it, basically. I was putting off working in it because it was just making me frustrated. And now I've printed out every single photo of my cat from last year, and I can just nut this journal out and add all those photos, add all my journaling, and finish it. Woohoo! That's what I'm so excited about. And doing this journal surgery has made it possible for me to do that, because now I'm excited to get in there, and I want to get in there, and it's all making sense to me. It's all in order, it's all chronological, and it's all good. So yeah, just going to finish up with my knots, and then I will come back on my channel a bit later and do the flip through of the first signature, which tracks pretty much his first month of life. So hopefully I'll be able to fill in a lot more photos from then on. I took a lot of photos when I just got in, so hopefully now it'll be much quicker. So I'm just doing a flip through of this second signature. And I was hoping that I could start on this year in this journal as well, but I might only be able to record his life for last year. But that's okay. I can make a new journal to record his second year of life. I just print a lot of photos, or I take a lot of photos, so there's so much to cover. But I tried to write about him every single week, just little journal updates about him. So that's why there's a lot of journaling too. So that's the journal, all finished now after the journal surgery. Hope that was a fun video. Let me know if it was. I have no idea. It's a bit of a different video. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.